A very good afternoon. I, Raj Singh Kundawat, would like to welcome you all for this interesting session on entrepreneurship and creativity. Entrepreneurs innovate, think of brilliant ideas and create new products, which many a times are innovative. While doing this, the primary motive is to ensure the success of their product. Creativity is something that comes out of experience, knowledge and exposure. Now, the panelists for this session, I would like to introduce them. So our first panelist is Asha Mandapa. Asha Mandapa is a versatile artist who heads the reflection design studio. Now I would like to introduce every panelist. Asha Mandapa is a versatile artist who heads the reflection design studio. She is founding member and academic director at Ideal and RSN Design Hub. Besides conventional media, she is a pioneer. She is a founding member and academic director at Ideal and RSN Design Hub. Besides conventional media, she is a pioneer in the new age media of glass wood and metal. She has held and participated in several art exhibitions over the year. Her love for history, literature and philosophy brings an added edge to the themed work of her student. Mehrab Irani is a general manager investment at Tata Investment Corporation and has a total of 16 years experience in investment research and banking. He is the author of the well-acclaimed book 10 Commandments of Freedom or Financial Freedom. His second finance thriller book, Mad Money Journey, instantly became a national bestseller. He appears on various business channels as well as writes articles for various investment and personal finance magazines, journals and online websites. Mr. Ravi Manoram is an Amazon best-selling self-published author of When the Road Beckons. He is also an educator, entrepreneur and the founder of Raveman OPC Private Limited. Unlike his contemporaries, he chose to follow where the wind in his sails took him. Other than writing, Ravi is also passionate about music and travel and feels that traveling has a deeper connection that intertwined with a man's very own existence. Our next panelist is Mr. Sumit Agrawal. Sumit Agrawal is MD at Chemical Manufacturing Industries in Kanpur. He is a multi-talented person who has authored a book named The Four Patriots, which has been read and appreciated already by eminent personalities. He is a music composer, lyricist, singer, actor and motivational speaker. He has also taken steps to benefit the society by running an NGO named Prerna that facilitates good quality education in government schools and is also the founder of Kasauti, a consortium of NGOs formed to aid clean and answerable politics. Last but not the least, the moderator of this session, Jigna Shah. Jigna Shah is the CEO of Rave Fashion, a top-end clothing brand of Gujarat. Rave has stores in posh localities of Ahmedabad and Mumbai and plans to open globally. She was honored with the Entrepreneur of the Year award by Business Standard in 2014. She also won the Udgam Women Achievers Award in business category the same year. She has also been declared Pride of Gujarat and very recently got Pride of Maharashtra from Narendra Modi's NGO Namo. She has been recently empaneled by KVIC, that is the Khadi and Village Industries Corporation, to design, innovate and represent Khadi nationally and internationally. I would request Jigna Shah to carry on.
Hi, my Ahmedabadi friends, lovely friends. Very much in my own homeland, Ahmedabad. Hi to everyone. Okay, I would not speak much about literature. Okay, it's all about, we've been hearing the words which are very common. Developed countries, underdeveloped countries, developing countries. So what are these basically the terminologies and what are they based on? Okay, I think most of us, if we know, overall end of the day, everything boils down to money, growth of the country, even contribution to literature, art, or any field needs some money, some way. And I would like to know from money, its per capita income, all those factors are there. Now, we feel what is that particular factor? I would like to ask Asha. So what is that entrepreneurship or business or that factor which can contribute to the growth of the country?
Entrepreneurship with creativity. I think that is the step and the way forward. If I go back in history, I'm not looking at any particular country, but I'm looking at an artist. If I'm looking at the 1800s, I think of William Morris, a pre-Raphaelite artist who worked in diverse medium. He worked in glass, he worked in oils, of course, he worked in woods, he worked in metal, he wove carpets, he worked on silks, and he did wallpaper. He was an artist to begin with. He was creative. In fact, he is considered probably the first artist businessman. He was the first art entrepreneur. The first marriage between creativity and entrepreneurship. I think all entrepreneurs first begin with a great product. If the product doesn't stand the test of time, probably they go back to the drawing board, reinvent that product and bring it back in another format. But it has to be something that he has first started with, a good product. Good product, developed, stretched every which way to reach its final shape, still leaves room for moving further. Creativity and entrepreneurship is, I think, the finest marriage that can ever be.
Right, so would any of you like to tell me what is the best way? Your question was originally about the country, and that is what I am passionate about, the country's development from childhood and how it is useful for the country. Alright. So entrepreneurship basically means the capability to take full responsibility for a business venture, to be able to take some risk, and necessarily it does not involve creativity. An entrepreneur is a person who is like a menu selector. You have a successful party, तो उसका credit किसको जाता है? कुछ को नहीं जाता है जो खाना बनाते हैं जो लोगों को पसंद आता है. That credit goes to the person who exercises his judgment and selects the right dishes. So it is about an entrepreneur necessarily does not have to be a creative person, but he fosters that creativity, spirit of creativity in his team, and he has the right judgment to select the right business model and then be after it with all his passion and to make it successful. So that is what an entrepreneur means to me. And what I feel, as you rightly you asked, the need of the country is to have entrepreneurs, more social entrepreneurs, for whom profit is not just money earned. Profit is the welfare of the people around him. We are those 5 to 10% people who have the luxury of sitting here talking about literature, talking about the fact that we have been left behind. जो 80 से 90% हमारे देश के लोग हैं, उनको अपनी डेली की दाल और रोटी कमाने से फुर्सत नहीं है. They are busy with their basic necessities. So when we talk about growth, our growth as innovators, as creators, as entrepreneurs, we have to remember कि हम केवल अपने आप को आगे नहीं ले जाना है.
We are right now talking about entrepreneurship. What do you mean by entrepreneurship? According to
Alright, so I'll ask the
entrepreneurship and creativity are connected.
Yeah, thank you for bringing me back on the track.
According to you, creativity is not very important. I would like to know from Ravi.
Hi.
Yes.
How are you doing, Ahmedabad? Good afternoon. Yeah? And I think this is one of those most important sessions that you could ever attend, given the fact that we all have big dreams. And if you need answers to how do we go about achieving that dream, then it is through entrepreneurship and creativity. And now when you ask me what you mean by entrepreneurship, I would say entrepreneurship means destruction. Destruction, not in a positive way. You know? You're destroying an already established system which has become cumbersome. It is not being productive. you are trying to destroy a system.
According to you, Ravi, creation starts only after destruction. That's all you mean to say?
Entrepreneurship starts with destruction.
Okay, destruction.
Yeah, and then you are creating and then building an entirely new system out there. If you talk about the greatest vertical entrepreneur I know is our Prime Minister, who has destroyed grant money and he has created an entirely new system out there.
Do you agree to it, Pranav, on this point?
Yeah, good afternoon. Before I say anything, I would like to congratulate Shri Uma Shankar Yadav ji for organizing the Ahmedabad International Literary Festival. I think Gujarat is a great land, a great city. Ahmedabad, where big personalities have come out. This land where Shri Mahatma Gandhi ji came, Shri Vallabhbhai Patel, and even our current Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji is from this land. So it's really very nice to come here and sit in front of this audience. So thank you very much, Ahmedabad, for calling me over here. Yes, I would up to a certain point agree with him. I think entrepreneurship is up to a certain extent disruption also, but I think it is more creative disruption. I think when we create something and we disrupt something, and also we add on to something. Obviously, there is a textbook definition of entrepreneurship where there is risk taking, there is different organization of different other services, and all that is there. But unless you create something new, even it may be a very old product, even if you are manufacturing a matchbox, but unless you are adding some value to it, unless you are adding something new to it, nobody is going to buy your product. So, creative disruption, I think that would be a reasonably good definition for entrepreneurship.
Okay, anyways, then again I would like to know from you, entrepreneurship, as we all agree, it's the most important thing for growth of the country. Okay, now, what is the relevance of entrepreneurship and creativity? Do you feel that in isolation, entrepreneurship or the whole terminology can exist without creativity? I would like to know all your take on that. And the clear question is the relevance of entrepreneurship and creativity. Whether does it exist without creativity or not? Asha.
I think if I go back to what you said about the kitchen and the chefs and the menu, I think even selecting the right menu is creativity. I think there is no possibility of entrepreneurship without an element of creativity. Creativity does not necessarily have to be painting or writing a beautiful poem. I think it's also innovation. I think it has so much to do with what you imagine. So you could take, like he says, the matchbox and reinvent that constantly and shape it differently and come up with still a beautiful product.
But Asha, there are a lot of brands which have survived and grown also without creativity.
Yes.
It's part of creativity.
Without creativity?
Yeah, a lot of brands are there. You can
An
imagine,
example.
You can, yeah.
Give
All
me an
brands are
example.
not creatively designed.
No. Yeah, I see. I'm not talking of the utility brands, but if you talk of any product, which is what normal entrepreneurship would be, say a car manufacturer, he is definitely creating. I remember the old ambassador and Dilip Chabria taking it and making this wonderful product out of it. That is also entrepreneurship. Every single product, you begin with the base product and it has to test the time. Only when you keep on looking at that product, experimenting with it endlessly, will you arrive at something. And that exploration, that experimentation, that thinking out of the box is definitely a creative process. It's like he says, the menu cards. Even if the chef sitting in the kitchen is not getting the credit, the chef is being creative, the person who's selecting the menu is definitely creative.
What do you feel, Ravi, about it?
Well, give me a couple of minutes to elaborate on this. I'd rather like to put this in like this. There is creativity in entrepreneurship, and then there is entrepreneurship in creativity.
Yes.
So there is, since I've been on both the sides, like before I wrote this book, I had an internet business. There, I was using resources to solve problems for companies to come online. So I was adding some kind of innovation and creativity in that. But when I came about publishing this book, and when I had a number of rejections from publishing houses and literary agents, I was dismayed at that point of time. But then I thought, okay, if I have faith in this book, I'm going to do it. I'm going to bring it in the market. But then, I did not have any idea about what kind of a problem is this book going to solve. You know, so it's a creative product. It's like music. It's like music. It's like a movie that you're trying to make, but you don't really know whether the audience is going to accept it or not. You know, so in that case, the whole entrepreneurial journey becomes completely different. You're relying on your emotions. You're relying only on your gut feeling, and you're, whatever the fire is there inside you, and you go ahead and you do it. So I think entrepreneurship in creativity becomes a far more riskier thing as compared to creativity in entrepreneurship.
Hello. Yeah, what was the question? Can I?
So what is the defining of creativity and entrepreneurship?
As I said earlier, entrepreneur need not necessarily be creative. And if a creative person can develop entrepreneurial skills for aspiring writers who are here, he could become a Chetan Bhagat. He was the first person who put on a marketing cap and went to the market without hesitation trying to market his product. So that is what right balance. No, it is very important. I don't agree with Asha ji on what she said. Selecting the right menu is not creative.
Oh, it is definitely.
Okay, all right. So we have different takes on that. But creativeness means being imaginative and then create innovativeness, inventiveness. So creating something new and being able to appreciate is the work of a critic or an appreciator of art, right? So that is my take on what the difference between creativeness and entrepreneurship is more about passion, about the emotional quotient.
Is creativity not passion?
It is.
Total. Whether you're selling a book or a painting or like Jigna, who is a fashion designer, she has to feel for that design.
I think my vision is that a lot of creative brands also have failed in the market.
Of course they
A lot
will
of
fail.
entertainers
But
I think coming up with great ideas. Mark Zuckerberg is not the only one who came up with the idea of Facebook. There were a lot of other guys who thought about it, but there was something else which was not only the creative idea.
no, I think exactly what I'm saying. If a creative brand, a brand that has stood for a certain amount of time, fails, that does not mean it was not successful. It just means it did not move with the times. Maybe it needed to be tweaked a bit. Maybe they needed to go back to that drawing board and reinvent something, some part of it.
Jigna, I'd like to add on that, when you talk about failure of a brand, maybe the idea is sound, the idea is solid, but then there is another part of it which is execution.
Yes.
And execution, we talk about entrepreneurship or creativity.
Yeah, I would like to have all your takes on that also.
Yeah, so you mentioned about Mark Zuckerberg. See, almost 5-7 years down the back, and anybody thought that what food I eat, where I eat, with whom I eat, where I am traveling, it was more a personal affair. But today, it's all around the place. On Facebook, if you see 90% of the posts are what? With whom I am meeting, what I am meeting, where I am going, where I am traveling. All kind of. So that is creative. Yeah, where my wife is. So that is creativity which Facebook actually bought, which nobody had bought at that point of time. At the same time, if you take, Mark is also a Chinese gentleman who started Facebook. At the same time also, if you take China as an example, what they do mass production of all the goods. Whatever commodity, whether you take iron, whether you take steel, metals, commodities, textile, anything, China can manufacture any kind of goods in large scale, where much of creativity is not involved. So I think it's a mixture of both. It is creativity and at the same time is also managing scale, managing other resources and delivering the goods and services. I think in India we are talking about Make in India, etc. But are we really ready for Make in India? Are we ready to compete with other large industrial houses in different countries like China, etc. as far as scale is concerned?
I would like to add to that. Since we talked about China thrives on its bulk manufacturing. On the other hand, you compare it with things like McDonald's or Pizza Hut or Alibaba, who have come up with an innovative business model, and hence their margins are much more than what China would make on commodity products. So they are basically acting like laborers for the rest of the world and happy laborers who earn sufficient for their country. And we have, as a country, to learn a lot from these. We have demonstrated entrepreneurship in our ventures like Ola cabs or Oyo rooms, but we are basically thinking about catering to our Indian needs. We have never gone out and thought, yes, we can cater to the international world. In the last 50
China without creativity also what Mehrab has a vision that they want
Yes, they are happy, they are a happy economy, and yeah, but the kind of profits which...
The growth of the country in terms of business, in terms of money, straight entrepreneurship of course is there, but end of the day it should contribute to society.
Absolutely,
But
yeah.
the creativity in the isolated charm, it can help.
So my point is that we have to foster international entrepreneurship in our community. We have to think beyond the boundaries of India. Why don't we have a work of, a piece of literature which has won a Nobel Prize in the last so many years? Why don't we have any scientific innovation? Why don't we manufacture computer chips till now? So both creativity and entrepreneurship in India are bound down by certain mental barriers, by the kind of ambience our government is providing to its citizens. So we need to think beyond those boundaries. That's my point.
Yeah.
Just to elaborate a bit more on execution from my personal experience, I had lived quite some time. I lived a completely free life, in the mountains, living with the hippies from abroad, from here, there, everywhere. And I don't know if you guys know how hippies live. They're always on a high. But when they are on a high, they tend to create a lot of stuff. So during that period, I had met amazing artists, whether they are painters, whether they were writers. But many of them were in their 40s and 50s, some of them. They wrote amazing things, they painted amazingly, but they could never ever come to the mainstream and show their art to the people. That is where the execution comes in. So talent, the idea, everything is fine, but when it comes to execution, you have to get down and wrestle in the mud. You have to defeat the pig out there, and you have to prove yourself that you're better than others. I think that's where the difference comes.
I'll give you my personal example of creativity and also what you were saying. See, I'm basically from the finance and investment background. So, and when I thought of writing a book, so there are a lot of books on finance and investments which are available, and people hardly like to read about finance. If you ask a general person, I think they are very much disconnected with it. For example, and money is such a thing which everybody has used, whether it's a king or a beggar, whether it's a peon or a CEO, everybody wants to and is dealing with money. But still, if you ask a housewife, what are you planning about your financial future? The general answer is, I don't know, my husband is looking at it. Or if you ask a young chap, say an engineer coming out of college, what are you planning about your future, buying a house, getting married, etc. The normal answer is, abhi to job karna hai, wo sab baad mein dekhenge. So therefore, I thought, why not combine two very powerful things, which is money and entertainment. And therefore, I got a little creative with that, and I wrote my book which is called Mad Money Journey. So it is a fiction, it is a finance thriller, it is a fiction of finance and investment. It's a story of a middle-aged doctor who is very good, he is very well qualified, as a loving family, a wife, mother, grown-up children, everything is picture perfect. But still, after having everything, he is not happy from inside, and then he goes to end his life. And then he saved mysteriously from death and is launched on a financial mission around the world, where he goes to different countries like US, UK, Africa, Afghanistan, and many more. And he meets some people over there, he lives with their people, eating their food, living their culture, comes back and mission is there. So what I mean to say is that I got innovative, creative, with a very boring subject, and that has worked well for me. But after that also I paid equal attention to marketing and other things. So I think creativity is also important, and execution and other things are also equally important, whether it's a book, whether it's a business, or whether it's a politics also, whether it's politics also.
Creativity, it's along with that, I think
It's,
marketing,
yeah,
presentation,
yeah, everything is, whether it is book, it is even in politics, I think both things are important.
In fact, there is a beautiful saying where it says, an entrepreneur is a visualizer who actualizes. So if you really think, he's actualizing.
Right.
And actualization would include all of it, the manufacturing, the execution, the whatever else, details, the finance, all of it. So I think that's a beautiful quote.
Yeah, so we all agree, I think that at the end of the day, you need to have not only creativity in the terminology of entrepreneurship, but a lot of other factors also to have the overall growth in the country, having new products, design developments. I think so. I think that's what Ravi want to say something.
Yeah, and again, to add discussion into execution, that's one of the favorite things that I'd like to talk about. I mean, all of you sitting here would have some kind of an idea inside you, some kind of an ambition that you want to realize it. But often we get bogged down by the strings that are attached around us, whether it's family, whether it's the social concerns, So, when I talk about destruction, the destruction starts from there. You need to break on that, you need to change everything in order to be the different one that you are expecting, expecting to become, So when you have to outgrow the people around you.
Yeah, as long as I think new car models are launching,
absolutely.
old models are going outside the market and they're getting launching new.
So in my book, actually, I have described individuals, they're amazing guitarists, but they end up playing only in a small restaurant out there because they're too afraid to go out into the big city and make a change for themselves. So I think that all of these factors, they go a long way in terms of execution, entrepreneurship, and creativity.
Thank you all the panelists, and we're throwing questions open for the audience. Anyone would like to?
I want to ask.
Good, and three answers.
No, I've been waiting to ask this question because you see a lot of us who are dealing with, and it is to do with literature, it's to do with writing, it's to do with words. I feel that people who are creative, in the earlier times they used to say that people who are creative are least bothered about how they look, what they do, what is the message that is going out, which is why you saw people who are not very, artists had long ponytails and all of that. So that for over all these years, there is this impression that people who are associated with creativity are least bothered about what the world thinks of them. In today's day and age, if that is how we were to do, things will be a lot different. I want to ask each one of you, in fact, and especially those who are very active on social media, how exactly do you connect literature, that is the power of words and what you put across, on social networking sites like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and how important is it? You could be very creative now, at the same time, it's not necessary that you stay behind and not really talk about yourself. In today's day and age, a lot of creative people are having to talk about themselves. Either because of this fear that there may be others who are doing it, or because they feel that yes, if the medium is there, then why not? So I just want to know, briefly a little about what each one of you thinks, considering that you're all on social media.
I can answer that. Social media has been a great tool for me. I've been posting a lot of things, and as much as it helps me connect with my fellow peers, with the readers as well out there. What essentially, how social media helps me is in terms of getting instant feedback about what my ideas are. The appreciation that I get instantly, so I know whether this idea is worth pursuing or not. So in terms of that, I think it's a great tool, and the feedback is instantaneous. You don't have to wait for somebody. Okay, pad lunga, feedback de dunga, nothing like that. And then you're not writing things for some select class of people. You're writing for the general public, and when you have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people there on Facebook, feedback is instant and it's marvelous, I think.
I think in the past there was a perception that people were having long hair or wearing kurta pajama or somebody like those are creative. But I don't think it's that way. Everybody is creative. Today, if you see a lot of the commercially successful authors in India, they are not from creative or literature background. Many of them are from MBAs or from IIMs or from finance background. So I think creativity is within ourselves. How we may portray. I think social media is one of the best methods of connecting with our audiences, with anybody which you want to.
The question primarily is, where do you take that kind of time out when you all do it? So they think, you take time out of your creative space and then connect with people at large through social media. So how important is it?
So I think we have to wear two hats. One is a creative hat when we are actually doing our work. I think when we are writing or doing some of our work, I think we don't have to compromise on that. That time we have to be creative, we have to be honest to our work. That time we don't have to think about marketing or branding.
I'll give you my example here. When I started composing music, so my family was the one who used to listen to it. Then, despite having a business to look after, I actually traveled to Viacom 18 office, sat there like a struggler for 2 days to find a person who would listen to my music. And it paid off. My songs played on MTV. So, as an entrepreneur, you have, like he said, there could be a guitarist who could be playing in a restaurant, but unless he puts on his marketing cap, the world may or may not notice him.
I'm very active. I'm very active on social media. I think I even have my own Art Mad page on which everything art is put there. So I have a great interest in history. So people who are very interested in history and who have lovely images to share or archaeological sites that have just been found or strange things like this. So I get to hear of it. Whatever I have, they get to hear of. And I think social media has been absolutely wonderful in just changing the face of entrepreneurship.
A lot of brands are created also just virtually. If you know our must be knowing content. It's only purely on the basis of creativity, I would say. There is no existence at all, no office, no shop, nothing. It's just virtual brands. And so people do take notice of, I think, the creativity. The state of creativity, what? Yeah, I feel that's it is important. And it's a very constant process. The idea, I think, maybe the songs, popular songs like Chura Gaya Hai, Dil Jo. So that was all the चम्मच से जो म्यूजिक बजता है पानी का जो है that has come instant. I think it has got no sort of a special thought process for that. So
No, and I think it connects you with events all across the globe. I think you get to hear and see things just like so. Something's happening there, you hear it here. Leonard Cohen, the poet who died 2 or 3 days ago, you just got it straight away when you woke up in the morning. You knew, okay, this has happened. You know, when Trump and Hillary are racing neck and neck, everyone was thinking, well, is it a boy? Is it going to be a boy or a girl? So you know, it's very,
Let's take more questions.
Messages, my God, I think a couple of minutes and the messages were so creative. Yeah.
Companies like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, you see companies popular like Tesla, SpaceX. So what kind of creativity is that? So do you find any difference in those creativity? Because these are companies which actually makes very less job, and some companies actually makes many more jobs, and they are actually working for the future. And when we see Instagram, Facebook, there's no future in that. These are actually just mere companies which are actually wasting the time of human. And when we see career innovators, inventors, and real creative people who are actually working for the people, as Sir said, social entrepreneurship. When we see Elon Musk, he's actually creating something for the people and for the environment. He's trying to save the environment. But when we see these companies, Facebook, and no, I'm not against Facebook or any sort of that thing, but their valuations are really high, but their revenues are not that high. They don't match up.
Maybe the point is not,
Yeah.
Yeah, you are perfectly right. If you see in the US also, in the S&P 500, the top 5 value companies are Facebook and Amazon and Apple and such. Many of them actually don't make any profits also. But that is the power of creation. Means they created something new which billions of people connected with, and today they are just getting those kind of valuation. Even in India, if you see what kind of valuation Flipkart and all they get, they don't make any profits. They burn a lot of money, but they can, because they are into some new kind of innovative business. So market is thinking that 2, 3, 5 years down the line, they will make phenomenal profits, and that's why they are giving that valuation. Which we may agree, we may not agree with that, but market is liking that. People are liking that.
So your question has multiple facets. Just let me try and put in a different way. See, when you talk about creativity or you're talking about entrepreneurship, you cannot begin with the idea as to what kind of problem you are actually solving. Whether it's actually social entrepreneurship. Okay, I have to go and save all the leprosy patients in the world. Therefore, I'm going to become a social entrepreneur. You don't start like that. First of all. Second of all, Facebook and in technology, again, technology is one important aspect of my book as well. In the next decade or maybe a couple of decades also. So, we are betting on that. So that's where the valuation thing comes in. And then let me tell you one more thing. Facebook has at least provided a platform for social entrepreneurs to actually share and connect directly with many other people. So you indirectly it has helped immensely. Today, many people are able to raise funds on Facebook, by just, talking about So let's not discount.
I think we got your answer, so we're running short of time. We should let Priya.
आज कंडीशन क्या हो गई है मेरे पास जबरदस्त आइडिया है तो कोई अभी फाइनेंशियल कंडीशंस वो आइडिया को इम्प्लीमेंट करने में मतलब रुक सकती है क्या नहीं और फॉर एग्जांपल मैं क्या सोचूं कि मैं थोड़ा टाइम जॉब कर लूं थोड़े फाइनेंशियली स्ट्रांग हो जाओ बाद मेरे पास जो आइडिया है वो इम्प्लीमेंट करूं ये कंडीशन अभी ज़्यादा दीवार की हो गई है इस टाइम हम क्या करें
मैं इसको आंसर करता हूँ क्योंकि मेरे पास बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग आते हैं who say कि sir I have a knack for music, I am a good guitarist, I am going to Mumbai and I will struggle there. Right, you can follow it, you can choose to pursue your dreams, but that is a very risky thing to do. As normal human beings, we want to have a family, we want to live a stable life. So you should first find a stable source of income and then learn a little bit of multitasking and follow your dreams with the equal zeal and passion which you now have. Don't forget your dream, pursue it, but have a stable source of income. Giving everything up, not even being able to make a family is not something wise to do. And if everybody starts pursuing their dreams, who is going to run the country?
Very true.
You will not have people doing essential jobs.
Very true. Very true.
I think I can relate with you, and I'd like to share my personal experience in this. I completed my MBA in 2013. After that, I took off to the mountains for around 8 months. I completed the book. I returned very proud. I showed my dad. I completed the book. I sent it out to the different publishing houses. All rejected the book, right? And then my dad was like, okay, I'm not going to give you a single penny. You have 2 study degrees and you don't really work, And both my degrees are from top 10 colleges, ECE and FMS, So he said, you have 2 good degrees, you don't work, you're not working, and you're only wasting money and time. That's when I thought of, since I had to, achieve my dream, then I thought of, okay, so what's going to be the way out? Then I thought of taking up a job. So what kind of a job would actually make sense? Then I started teaching different coaching institutions. For 2 years, I thought, I saved money, I published the book, I marketed it, I made it a hit, and I did it all by myself.
Thank you all panelists for your lovely thoughts sharing with us. Thank you and thanks to Shankarji and the whole Mehrab team.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So I really like to thank Ahmedabad Literature Festival, Anurita ma'am, Uma Shankar sir, and Vikas and the whole entire team. And this is an example of entrepreneurship itself. They've broken all the norms. This is the first edition and it has been grand. I've attended many first editions of different literature festivals and none have been so grand as Ahmedabad Literature Festival. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for this wonderful session. Now I would like to call upon stage Nisha Nagar to present the mementos to our panelists.